Hey Canucks fans, who would you rather see play with Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser? Is it JT Miller or is it Micheal Ferland? I'm Clay Emo. I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCBC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and this is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Tuesday, August the 20th. Been a different surrounding, different recording environment for me. I'm in our minivan, our Honda Odyssey today, as my Civic is in the shop. But I'm sure you'll be able to put up with me a bit of I feel like I'm a little bit closer today. Anyways, I'm sure you'll be able to put up with me for one video at least. And I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Chris, to Matt, to Adam, and to Anna. Congratulations to the crew from the Canucks Hockey Blog, and specifically the C4 podcast. They reached their 200th episode yesterday, and to celebrate that milestone, they brought in, I guess all the really cool guests were busy, so they brought me in, and I was able to hang out with Chris and Matt and record for an hour and a half last night, and honestly, it felt like we hadn't skipped a beat. It felt very good, felt like old times. The chemistry was still there, and when they post the link later today or tomorrow, hopefully it'll come through on the podcast itself. But we had a great time reminiscing. That's where I got my start doing Canucks commentaries, was podcasting with Chris Golden back when that C4 podcast started a few years ago. So for them to be at 200 episodes, a really, really great achievement. Probably the longest Canucks podcast in our market right now. There are a lot of really good ones right now, including C4, but this was one of the originals, if not the original. At least it is the longest standing one, longest running one right now. So again, Chris and Matt, thanks for having me on. It's a lot of fun, and I look forward to sharing that link out on Twitter once it comes out later today or tomorrow. Got to sneak in a haiku in there as well, which was kind of my thing back in the day, the power of the 575. Also today, a bit of Canucks news before I get to today's topic. Jim Benning, the Canucks officially announced what was broken by Friedman and Dhaliwal last Friday, the 3-year contract extension for Jim Benning as the Canucks GM. And I think they're doing a press conference pretty much right when I'm recording this, so I'll get to any tidbits or highlights from it likely in my video for tomorrow. But for today, I want to talk about JT Miller and Micheal Ferland, two of our two biggest offseason additions when it comes to the forwards. Both very similar. They have good size. They're in the 6'2" range, about 217, 218 pounds. So they both have similar bodies. They play not exactly the same way, but they bring a lot of the same elements to the game. Not only are they big, but they can skate. They can skate very well for their size, and they both have offensive ability. I'd say JT Miller is a bit more of a playmaker. Micheal Ferland is a bit more of a bruiser, but in their own ways, they're both going to be valuable additions to our top 6. So basically today I want to talk about very quickly, which of those two players do you think is a better fit for Pettersson and Boeser? And I've heard a lot of people be talking about this the last few days, especially as we get ready for training camp, which is already less than a month, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, you can argue, Sven Baertschi might get a look in the top 6 as well. Maybe Godolphin if he ever resigns. But for now, let's look at the two pairings, right? A Pettersson and Boeser, and the other one being Horvat and Pearson. Right, those are the 4 of the top 6. Pearson showed great chemistry with Horvat after coming over in that late season trade. So if you have the two pairs, Pettersson and Boeser, Horvat and Pearson, where do Ferland and Miller fit in among those two pairs? First thing, you can't really go wrong with either one, with either combination. I think either of the two guys would fit with either of those two pairs. And like I said, injuries, matchups, whatever it may be, that may change things. And we're likely going to see Miller play with both Pettersson, Boeser, and Horvat and Pearson sometime this season. Same with Ferland. We're going to see him up on the top line, depending on matchups. We're going to sometimes see him in the second line. I actually think with Ferland and Miller, we might even see them drop down to the third line just to create balance. JT Miller could play as a third line center, and that's good depth. Pettersson, Horvat, and Miller now as your top 3 centers. Or, Micheal Ferland, you can also see him playing on a third line as well. Imagine Ferland and Virtanen on the wings on the same lines, surrounding a guy like Gaudette or Miller or Sutter. That would be pretty cool, actually. That would be enough to put some fear into opposing D-men and stuff. So Micheal Ferland, like I said, he could play on the third line if he needed to. But let's talk about Ferland and Miller in the top 2 lines and who would be the best fit. JT Miller, I've heard from a couple interviews on NHL.com or the NHL Network that when JT Miller was traded to the Vancouver Canucks, that Travis Green told him that he would get a chance to play with Pettersson and Boeser. And that makes sense. There's nothing earth-shattering there. You know, if you're the most prized forward off-season acquisition, it makes sense if you'd want that chance to play with Pettersson and Boeser. And because he is such a good playmaker, and because Pettersson and Boeser are such good finishers, that could be a combination that works very well. Miller is good in the offensive zone. He's good at retrieving pucks. You know, he's not going to separate guys as much as Ferland might, but he's still going to win his share of puck battles. But he's very creative. He's good around the net. He's good at setting guys up around the net. So that's a great advantage for Pettersson and Boeser to be with a playmaker like JT Miller. You take JT Miller's attributes that I just talked about, and you could also see him playing well with Horvat and Pettersson, two shoot first kind of guys. Yeah, I think Horvat's playmaking is underrated. I've talked about it a couple times. Pettersson more of a shooter as opposed to a passer. But you put Miller on that line, and you could also see that working well. You would get Horvat a bona fide passer to get the puck to Horvat in the middle, and I could see Miller working out very well with Horvat and Pettersson as well. And you just kind of see them as a line that has a great combination of skill, speed, and size, of course. Then you look at Micheal Ferland. No, by the way, JT Miller has had 2 seasons. I think that combined season of Tampa and New York, I think he had 56, 58 points for those 2 teams together. The season before that, he had 56 or 55 with the Rangers in a full season. And then last year, he didn't play all 82 games, but extrapolated, he would have had over 50 points again. So in JT Miller, we're getting a 50-point player. Micheal Ferland, we're getting a 40-point player. His best 2 seasons were 41 and 40 points respectively. And, you know, he's not going to light the lamp, say, as much as JT Miller would, but he'll still be an upgrade over a guy like Sven Berchi, who's topped out at 35 points, or an upgrade over a guy like Nikolai Goudobin or a guy like Jake Virtanen. So that's why Micheal Ferland should get a spot in the top 2 lines, and he said as much when he signed with the Vancouver Canucks in mid-July. So Micheal Ferland on the top line, he would definitely separate a lot of defensemen from pucks, a lot of opposing wingers from pucks, and I could see him, like we like to say, creating a safe work environment for Pettersson and Boeser. Not that they need it, but obviously the more that they have the freedom to skate, to dangle, to puck, to pass, to handle the puck, and obviously to get towards the net, the better. You know, better chances they have of scoring, and the better chances the Canucks have of winning. And I remember when Micheal Ferland played against the Vancouver Canucks back in that 2015 playoff series, I was afraid of him. I'm sure the Canucks players were afraid of him. I'm sure Kevin Bieksa and especially Lucas Biza were afraid of Micheal Ferland. So I'm so excited. I think that's kind of been the low-key, one of the underrated stories of the summer, because we've been talking about Tyler Myers, and we've been talking about emergence of Quinn Hughes, and one more, you know, Elias Pettersson. We've been talking about JT Miller. We haven't really talked about Micheal Ferland. And yes, maybe because it was later along in the summer when kind of the news cycle died down. But I think this could be a sneaky good, massive acquisition for the Vancouver Canucks. So yes, I see him on the top line playing with Pettersson and Boeser. He's fast enough. He's smart enough. Maybe doesn't have the same playmaking ability that JT Miller has, but what he makes up in maybe not as good passing as Miller is he can just rock guys and separate guys from the puck, pummel defensemen into the sideboards and in the corner boards, whatever it may be, end boards. Then I could also see him, though, for the same reason, being, again, on that second line with Horvat and with Pettersson. You put him there, it becomes a bigger line. It also becomes, everything that he would do for Pettersson and Boeser, he would still do for Horvat and Pettersson. He could be the first guy in on the forecheck, so it's not always Horvat. And as the center, you don't always want your center being the first guy in. And Pettersson, I don't think is ever going to win a puck, race to the puck. So with Micheal Ferland, you have a guy who can forecheck, who can separate defensemen from the puck, and who can actually be that first guy in to set up Horvat and Pettersson for scoring chances. So you can't really go wrong. I guess that's my point with both these guys. With Miller and with Ferland, both play similar styles, relatively similar styles, but whatever their attributes are, Miller, especially with his playmaking, Ferland with his forecheck, whatever their abilities are, they will benefit both pairings, either Pettersson and Boeser or Horvat and Pettersson. My gut feeling, if we're talking about these 6 guys only, in particular Miller and Ferland, my gut feeling is that JT Miller starts the season with Pettersson and Boeser, and Micheal Ferland starts the season with Horvat and Pettersson. I just don't see Ferland as a bona fide first-line guy. Now, maybe Travis Green doesn't care about these titles or doesn't care about, labeling guys first-line, second-line. But I think if all things being equal, I would start Miller with Pettersson and Boeser. Then I would start Ferland with Horvat and Pettersson, knowing that you could very easily swap the two and then just for a different look among those top two lines. One other thing to add to this is Harman Dial from The Athletic was on the radio this morning, and he thinks that JT Miller's playmaking ability would be better suited for Horvat and Pettersson because they are shoot-first guys, whereas Pettersson at least has the ability to make plays. Not only is he a great sniper, but we've seen he's a wonderful stick handler, and he's a great passer, great vision. We've seen all those passes to Boeser last year. So maybe already you have a great playmaker in Pettersson on the top line, so that's why you'd want JT Miller on the second line to spread out the playmaking ability. But you put Miller and Pettersson together, they're going to do some crazy things together, and I'm sure they'll be making highlight packages throughout the season. So either way, I think we're good. It's a nice problem to have. These are two guys we didn't have at the start of last season, but I'd love to hear what you think, Canucks fans. Miller and Ferland, who do you want on the top line with Pettersson and Boeser? Who do you want on the second line with Horvat and Pettersson? Or does it even matter to you? Leave a comment below. I love to read, react, and reply. Subscribe if you like to. Like this video if you like to. Enjoy the day. God bless, and go Canucks go.